Welcome back to another episode of the Strive for 25 podcast. I've got an amazing guest on today, Nicholas Thiele, and All Around Improvements is the company. And he is helping tons of people in the St. Louis area with this rehabber playbook. And I cannot wait to dig into this. He's helping people in the game how to do it better, how to find the right contractors, and do the work. But anyway, Nick, thanks for making time for us today. What's going on in your world today?
Hey, how's it going, brother? Thanks for having me. Man, today has been a good day, honestly. So today we passed our second occupancy report on property that I have listed. Second one in a row we passed. First clip with no list, just showed up and passed. And out of 300 houses, I've maybe had that happen 20 times, and it's happened to me two in a row on the last two we put to market. And then I had a sewer scare at a house that we have under contract. Finally, after way too long on market, a lot of lessons learned on that one. But I just sent my guy out there. It's good to have friends in this game and the company we work with really regularly to verify some information I didn't quite trust. And it turns out they were wrong. I don't have any sewer issues. Camera shows we're all squared away. So we're cruising to the finish line on several things. And so far, it's been a good couple of hours here in my office.
So one of the reasons I'm just so pumped to be able to have you on is on this show, this channel, we're talking about building wealth for the everyday person, in this environment with inflation and cost of living being so high, for the everyday person to be able to get ahead and build wealth, we're talking about increased income to be able to save and then have options to invest. And real estate's obviously a big piece of the game for me personally and for many out there in terms of building wealth and multiplying wealth. And here you are doing this every single day. So I think the last time you and I were talking, you had like 8 or 9 flips in process as we speak. Where are you at on that right now?
Still maintaining a healthy 9.
Okay.
So I've got my rotation in threes, which is kind of the plan that I entered this when I decided to go full time, where I have 3 on the market, 3 about midway through in progress, just about to finish up, and then I'm acquiring 3 that are either closed, just recently closed, or closing. So I'm maintaining that clip fairly well as planned.
So, on the residential side of things, inventory is low, prices are high, rates are high. It seems like there's a gridlock of activity in the typical housing market. But you don't really operate in that market, right? You're doing things outside of the norm of the MLS, right?
Yeah, I try to stay on the higher end of things. I have a couple different people that I have pull comps for me in my circle. One guy is really good with numbers. One guy is an appraiser. I ask for a high, medium, and low with the visual pictures, and I try to exceed that. Obviously, every market has a cap. Every neighborhood has you're not going to get more than this price, but we try to see what's going on, and then we try to beat it.
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on my question. I guess I'm talking more about the acquisition side.
Oh yeah, well I acquire from wholesalers. Yeah, I don't do a lot of MLS. All my stuff is networks, acquisitions, other investors, real estate agents that get things that aren't listable, but mainly wholesalers. Uh, Due to the foundation that I bring to the table in rehab, that's kind of like my secret sauce. I figured out a little bit of a glitch in the matrix when it comes to wholesale and wholesaling, that allows me personally to navigate that fairly easily. I mean, and I say easily as I've been dedicated to this one thing for about the last 10 years. But at this point, I move pretty effortlessly through wholesaler, and I love it. It allows me to stay high volume.
Okay, so we're going to dig into some of the details of what you do, how you got there, and also your rehabber's playbook. But I want to ask this question for you. For the listeners that are out there, you're in St. Louis, you operate in this St. Louis metro market. And if somebody's out there in a different market and is thinking about maybe going down this path and maybe finding an off-market property, doing some fix and flip rehab and then selling it, would you say that this glitch in the matrix is something that can be tapped into and maybe even harnessed by somebody out there if they know the blueprint, if they know kind of the game?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
Okay.
it's from more my side of the coin. It's more from the tradesman side. I'm a strong advocate to my fellow tradesmen out there when I meet them at these networking groups. Like, you are like right on the outskirts of like what you should be doing. If you have these residential skills in any way, you cut your costs drastically as you try to navigate through this, and it just becomes better and better the more technically you can understand and execute these kind of things yourself. My ability to do anything inside the house from a rehab standpoint, whether it's like remove a load bearing wall or rewire the house or whatever it is that I have to do, just allows me so much freedom to navigate without the same risks that a lot of traditional investors have when they purchase these houses.
Okay. So you mentioned doing this full time. Backing up a little bit, when did you kind of go down that path, and kind of what was going on in your life as you were transitioning into full time of this?
So this year I just kind of launched into going not for hire. I've been running my construction company, my rehab company for 7, 8, 9, 10 years now, something along those lines. And this has just always been the plan. I was building a foundation. One of the things that I recognize that my fellow investors lacked is the ability to execute these things at a high volume, at a fast pace. So I was perfectly okay with sitting in the beginning a little bit longer than most, because I wanted to go past that. When I got to that level, I wanted to be able to support a high volume of rehab and turn them around at a high pace, because that would allow me to scale so much faster. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been there for a couple of years now. Most recently, in the last year or two, my team has just come together so well. I've got the right people in the right places doing the right things. I've opened, my network has really come through and opened up, private money avenues and other avenues that allow me to navigate and tap into that wholesale market. Because even though I figured out I can navigate it, if I don't have the funds to navigate it, it makes it all kind of irrelevant. So everything just kind of came together for me this year. And I said, just, fuck it, I'm doing it. This is it. Brian Schroeder met me at a house, and he asked me, a couple times over the years, like, why are you still doing this for other people? Like, why aren't you doing it, for yourself? And I kept my composure, and I didn't, scream out, because I'm broke, Brian. That's why, because I don't have any money, because he's my lender. I'm still trying to make money, hustling. I funnel all my money that I get into my business, into my guys, into my, accelerating everything that I have. But this year, the right couple of doors opened up, and, Brian said it to me again, like, why are you even doing this? And I said, you're right. I'm just gonna go for it. So I had only ever flipped. I've got a rental portfolio, and I've done hundreds of rehabs for other people, but I've only ever flipped 12 houses up to this year, starting 2023. I've only ever done personally 12 acquisition, buy, and flips. So I set the goal in March of this year that I was going to purchase 20 houses this year. And I was going to do personally 20 houses this year before the year's end. And that was my way of jump starting myself into this doing it for myself kind of deal.
Okay, so kind of looking at the time horizon, you flipped 12 houses over how many years?
About 5.
Okay, so maybe 1, 2, 3 year, give or take.
Yep.
And then the rentals, how many do you have, and how long of a time horizon did you start?
So in the same 5 years. And in the same 5 year block, I've acquired 5 single families, 2 4 families, and a duplex. And we've fully renovated the interior of all of those as well.
Okay. So, you mentioned what was stopping you from doing it more. You said finances or cash or whatnot. When you're doing all these things and money going in, money going out, beyond the cash, what were some of the things that was limiting you? And then how did you fix or alter or adjust the course?
And I am pretty all in on this. And the only thing that was really stopping me was the cash. I have a great team. I mean, over the years, obviously, like I said, I mentioned that team, man, finding these people, finding the guys that I have around me and getting that team together was very important. But once I had the right team, I've been so plugged in into this real estate game over the years that I was ready to go. And it's literally the private money opened up to me this year. We started with like a small little $60,000 house to see if it worked, and it went great. And I think I have about 580 out with that private money lender from then to now, and that's just this year. I've just getting access to the private money, I've learned to navigate a mix of private money and hard money. And that's a different strategy that I had to kind of learn and try to move forward. So learning all these different financial strategies to manage doing all of these different projects, because my overhead is crazy. I mentioned that big team. Well, that big team, they cost a lot of money, and we all have to grow together. I don't want to keep training new people. That's not my motto. That's not my structure. So I have to make sure that my team has the same endless ceiling that I see for myself and my family as we grow together, because we're going to have to get big, and I can't get big with new people every year. So that's another part of my growth that's been very slow, is anytime I take a step up, my entire team takes a step up, however big it is at the time. And I try to make sure we all grow together.
So I just think it's important, at least for me personally, kind of my own personal network, in talking to contractors and a few people that I've personally seen kind of be in that similar situation of, hey, I'm doing these projects for the people. And it's like, well, why am I not doing this for myself? How do I get there? How do I make it happen? And, the same kind of topics of the cash and the capital and the finances is a big part. And that's why I really want to dig deeper on this and kind of outline what you kind of evolved through. And maybe that shares some insight to other people that are listening and that are also in the trade, because I guess from what I see, like the hardest part, especially in this day and age, is finding the good contractors, the good labor, the people that are experienced and navigate. That's so hard right now to be able to get people to show up that are qualified and good. I wanted to just take a second and dig in. So you said private money and hard money and, the first deal. So if it's okay, that $60,000 price, how did you acquire it? What dollars were used for private money or hard money? Like, how did that all work on the first deal?
So that whole one was private. I got the whole amount private money. He funded the whole thing. I funded the rehab. He funded the purchase. So he just gave me 60 for the house. I personally funded the rehab, which was about 25, 30. And then the plan was to get 120, and we ended up getting 150. So it worked out really well for us with a $60,000 or $90,000 investment, we made $60,000. So it worked out great. He got all his funds back. It worked out great. And as soon as he gave me the green light, I went ahead and put 2, 3 more under contract and kept going.
Okay. So when you say private money, that means like a person and they lend out of an LLC or a group, or what does
And
that mean?
private. So I spent literally, it's funny because all my experience that I have in this game is hard learned. And when I finally like really learn it, sometimes it's just so silly how simple some of these things are. I know people that like teach acquisition of private money. I know people that sell documents that are supposed to like help you navigate the acquisition of private money, right? And from the outside looking in, we all have these assumptions of what private money is, but I see all these professional things and all these processes involving private money. It makes you think it's just something far greater, far different than what it is. Private money in this industry is literally like somebody's rich uncle. It is just a dude with money that you can get to agree to give it to you under any terms that you can get him to agree to give it to you. That's private money. You could have a private money investor that's your grandmother. You could have a private money investor that you have no idea who they are, that you have a business arrangement and a percentage arrangement and a trust, obviously. or even a document. You know, some of these private money lenders don't even know who they lend money to. And then some of them will only lend money based off of their relationship with you. So, yeah. And that to me, as a young man with little to no personal network, that was my hardest part, is because I don't have a rich uncle. I don't even have a buddy with a rich uncle. And I had nowhere to turn there. It was like, nobody's giving me $50,000. Are they stupid? I wouldn't give me $50,000. But, 10 years in the game, and I've done all these things for all these investors. One of these guys that I've done 30 houses for came to me and says, Brian's got a sweet lick with this money lending thing. I want to get into that too. And I was, shit, well, you can lend your money to me. And, he knows me very well. And I helped him get the parameters of how he's going to lend money kind of structured. And I got to be his guinea pig and kind of come up with the process and help him create his own little private money lending. And I took all the money before he had a chance to get any other clientele. And I plan on keeping it that way. But he's been awesome to me, and I'll look out for him on anything on my end, and he looks out for me in a lot of ways too. So again, relationships and network in this game, it's entrepreneurship, real estate, earning your own income. It's just absolutely vital.
You mentioned being in the game for a number of years, 9, 10 years, right? I mean, do you think that you couldn't got, knowing what you know now, which again, chicken and the egg, but do you think in terms of reputation and the goodwill you've built up with your network, do you think that you could have gotten there faster if you kind of knew which levers to pull sooner?
Maybe. The kind of guy I am, man, is as soon as I see a lever, I'm pulling it. And I rarely ask questions until after it's pulled. I've been kind of scratching and clawing my way upwards for a long time now. And I will literally tell people that if there wasn't a hard way to learn things, I wouldn't know anything. I just can't seem to grasp anything in an easy way. So my lessons have to come with a knock on the head. Uh, and I'm a horrible student. So I wish I could give you a better answer there. But as soon as I observe a tactic that I could implement into my own business, I'm back in the office, I'm back in the shop, and I'm attempting to figure out how I can implement it. And then I'm implementing it, and we'll figure out what happens afterwards. We'll figure out, we'll adjust, we'll pivot. But if I see something that I like, and if I see something that I think is a strategy that will take me a step up, I'm going to step right away. So that's kind of the strategy that I've used over the last 10 years, is every time I find a way, I kind of take it.
Okay. So I'm going to take that question a little bit in a different direction on could you have gotten there faster? Kind of more on the light of, you've got a team, right? That you guys have been together for a number of years and time, and you're all growing together and they're working on projects as a group, and you've got a number of them going. Has anybody said, hey, you know what, like maybe I can do this next one on my own, and go find one on their own and have one going into their own portfolio? Have you seen anybody in your network kind of take on the next one?
No. So I push for that. I would love for that. I would love for one of my guys to take on and go farther. I'm working and talking to them about opening that door for them to make it real easy. I hire guys with not a lot of skill in the trade, and then I train them personally to the way we like things done. So these guys come into me pretty green, and nobody that I have personally like working for me and my team of guys, which is my 8 rehabbers that I have with me, and then I have my office, a couple girls at the office. And none of my 8 guys are currently stepping out there in the investment world, or trying to move forward with any sort of portfolio. We're pushing it. We're moving my company towards them being able to navigate that in a much easier way, and opening access to them again, to the funds and the different levers that need to be pulled in order to make that possible. That's very much on the table in the future and in the horizon of the people that work with me. But currently, nobody's really in the position or have started like jumping out there yet.
Yeah. And the reason I ask those questions is, building that reputation building that goodwill within your network, and then opportunities open up because you've demonstrated that type of consistency and good work over years, decade, right? Like it takes time to be able to build trust like that. And if somebody's been working with you for 2 years or 4 years or 1 year, whatever, obviously it takes time to be able to kind of set that reputation up. And then I guess the question is, well, how long does it take to be able to open up some of those doors and levers? And I guess that's just the question that's out there. And time will tell. But kind of going back to the strategy, you mentioned, acquiring properties through wholesale. And this is something you and I talked about a while back, that you have a little bit of a leg up when it comes to the acquisition side. And maybe this is kind of what the glitch you're talking about, because, you can act, on the purchase side, you can do something in a certain way that you're able to make up for on the back end with the execution. So if you could kind of just dig into your strategy and your philosophy on acquisitions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love it. And I don't know why I haven't heard more trades necessarily talking about it like this, right? But so the wholesale market, if I look at it like a store, okay? So, and if you look at St. Louis, like, the store. So you have the St. Louis wholesale store. And if your wholesalers are reputable and good, they work under pretty much the same number parameters, right? I mean, we're all working under kind of variations of the same percentages we want to make and things like that. Neighborhood ARV is generally calculated in the same way. Construction costs is genuinely, calculated in the same way, right? Obviously, the more experienced you are in the industry, the better your numbers are. But when I kind of identified that, like, you can't have 20 different wholesalers that wholesale in St. Louis that all have 20 different numbers or ways they run those numbers, right? Or else somebody's lying. It doesn't all compute, right? So generally, all these people are working under these things, these set parameters. And then I ask myself, well, a wholesaler, seller, he's selling. Who is he selling to? Who is his market? Who is the store marketing their product to? Well, their store is normally marketing the product to the people with money, right? So they're normally marketing their product to the people with money that want to buy a house and invest money and flip it or rent it. And then they have to pay a retail construction cost to do so. So all those numbers are based on those facts. Well, me, with my 10-man construction team and my 10 and hourly employees and vans and equipment and my own personal ability to relocate and reshape the interior of these places, they're not ready for me. They're not selling their house to me. They're not running their numbers of repair for Nick's all around improvements owned by Nick to come in there and fix the house, right? So their numbers are based off of retail cost. So if they're even close, I can normally supersede whatever they expect, greatly, as well as navigate any of the risk that comes along with, investing in real estate greatly. So all I really have to do is make sure that I'm dealing with a wholesaler in the neighborhoods that I want to do business. And then I make sure the structure of the home and the neighborhood and the street are what I'm looking for to sell as a top of the line product. Meaning, if Florissant, they like their 2-car garages. I'm not looking for the houses with the carport. So, I'm looking for the houses with the 2-car garages. And as long as I just make sure that I'm meeting like a couple really easy to hit parameters, I can almost buy anything at the cost that they're asking. They get to make their premium markup. I get a good house in a good street and a good structure that I can in turn take with my company and do quite a bit with. And then we make top of the line when we turn around and sell it. So it's just, like I said, my little glitch. If I find the wholesalers that operate in my neighborhoods and streets and markets that I want to operate in, anytime they get something good, if I like it, I can just almost say, okay, and it all works out for me in the end.
Is there anybody in St. Louis or any other markets, that comes to mind that has done something similar, that has your background in the actual interior construction part?
Not to mind. I don't know of the transit. I know of a lot of investors that have like their own rehab section or handyman, I guess, But that was one of the things I see is they get to 3 or 4 guys and they kind of cap out at their ability to manage the people and the acquisition and the sale and all the different moving parts. So somebody out there investing in real estate with their own personal equipment and 10-man interior remodeling team does not come to mind.
You don't have to be exact. You can give us a range if it's okay. How much do you think that you're able to kind of save or gain as opposed to retail versus having this on your own? How do you equate those numbers?
So it depends on where the money in the project is, right? So if I buy a house and it's got a lot of money and really big ticket items, full HVAC systems, roof, windows, major components of the home, my cost is a little bit steeper because you have to hire licensed and bonded trade professionals to do those things. And I try to keep my liability as low as I can, staying away from some of those bigger ticket items. But the more like grandma clean, cosmetic, just interior kind of it is, or even the dirtier, stinkier, funkier, overgrown it is, I get a lot of value out of those because where I can have 6, 7 guys go in there in a day and turn something really funky and gross into something that's not that bad to work with for the next month or so. I make a lot of money on those little in between ones that are just people don't want to look too hard. They stink. It's hard to see the outside. The trees are all overgrown. I kind of get in there and really know what I'm looking at underneath the funk.
Okay, so what you're saying is major stuff like an HVAC, a roof. What else fits in that stuff that you try to avoid?
Not avoid, but those are where my cost goes up, is
Okay,
where I have to hire a lot of other trades and other company. Because then again, I'm back to the guy paying retail
retail.
costs like everybody else. Now I get good prices because I network in the construction industry the same as I network in the investment community. So that's where I think I'm a little bit different. A lot of people don't have the same connection in the construction world that I have because those big ticket guys, the roofing company, the window company, these other companies, they know I do 50, 60 products for investors a year. And, I really only use 1 or 2 trades. So I get good deals, I get looked out for, and it all works out. But the more retail I have to pay, the less I enjoy the deal. The more I can just let my team go in there and do the cosmetic thing we do very well, the better the project profit turns at the end.
So that other example, if it's hey dirtier, stinkier, get your guys in six at a time and get it done in a day. When you look at that type of a transaction versus one that's going to be more major stuff, and you're going to have to kind of outsource some bonded tradesmen. When you look, because kind of going back into the entry price that you're okay getting in at, when you have another investor that's coming in looking at one that's going to need a lot more higher level stuff versus the one you're talking about, the stinkier, dirtier one. I'm assuming that the other investor that's going to hire retail contractors probably needs to get that second one at a much bigger discount to make the numbers work. Or how does that all fit together?
Right, right. They're gonna pay retail costs for something that I pay, 6 guys hourly for, and that's drastically different, especially when it's funky and nasty, and you tend to pay for that, guys. So guys stack an extra bill on it if it stinks. Uh, so it makes it easier for me because when you're talking about labor and manpower, like 2 guys equals 4, 3 guys equals 5. You get the more guys you add to this to a situation in a single day, and I mean that by 2 guys every day will get much less done than 3 guys in one day. I could have 2 guys for 2 days get the same or less done than 3 guys in one day can. The more hands you throw into a situation, the easier that situation is. And when you're paying retail costs for every hand you have to throw at the pot, it gets real different when you have to do a big, stinky, nasty clean out versus me. I can roll up my sleeves, bring 4 of my hourly guys, have a big trailer dropped or whatever. And we get this thing, done with a lunch and a day on the clock, and then we're moving on.
The last couple, say 3 or 4 full completed processes: buy, rehab, sell. What kind of time frame from purchase to completion of the house are you averaging for the ones that fit your buy box?
So we can do pretty much anything in about 8 to 10 weeks. And so I've begun to hire out certain parts of the process to try to speed my time frame up to do more. So I've started to hire out my demo. I've started to hire out the paint sometimes. I started to hire out the exterior work. So that's cutting my time down more towards that 8 week mark. So, full time, 6 to 8 weeks, and we can turn a full interior 40, $50,000 remodel around.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. So in terms of, the person that's out here that's listening that maybe done a couple of these or maybe trying to get into this, what advice or processes or systems or blueprints do you think would be helpful to talk about?
Just somebody just getting started and trying to buy, renovate, and sell, use those licensed, permitted processes that these cities have to your advantage when you start out. If you try to start out and you buy a house and you try to hire somebody's drunk uncle to do your first one, and you don't even have so much as a repairman on the back end behind him, you're at high risk. Do the first one right, hire licensed trades, try to find a general contractor or a rehabber or a contractor that's familiar with the process as it should go, because there is a process. I sell my process. I teach my process because there is a process to follow from start to finish that can make these things go so much easier. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not, and just go in there with a tool bag and start doing shit, because that is not the way to do it. Use those licensed trades in the beginning. Pay to play. I used to say that all the time. When people would tell me I paid too much for this, I paid too much for that. I'm paying for my education on top of my work at the same time. Pay to play, hire the guys that are going to get it done, learn from them. And then as you educate yourself as the way it's supposed to go, you can cut corners down the line when you learn what corners you can cut. Don't start off the game trying to get the cheapest value that you can, because you're going down a muddy road. And it's, you want to stick with some guys that know what they're doing and are going to lead you to the proper channels of doing this. Because there's a way to do this. Might not necessarily be like the politically correct, call the city, bring them a fruit basket, let them know you're going to be doing a project in their neighborhood kind of deal, but still stay within the guidelines of you staying safe and having a good product when you're done.
Is there one or two top questions that somebody should be thinking about asking when they're interviewing contractors?
I don't know about top questions. And this not so much for like individual trades like plumbing or electric, but I'm big on pushing site visits. If you're going to trust somebody to handle your whole project, meaning to be the guy to like be there, tear the walls down, put the walls up, run the paint, put the flooring, just a general guy to kind of run the process, kind of the way we do it, kind of what I feel like investors that are trying to be more passive should be looking for, is somebody that can kind of handle most of the process themselves without piecing it out. You're going to have that guy there and you're going to have him running your show. You need to ask him if he's got a project going on or coming up that you can go visit and you can see, because pictures lie, people lie, the sites don't lie. When you go to that site and you meet that contractor there, you should be able to see the way he conducts himself as his business. And there's going to be tons of red flags all over the place. Filthy site, misorganization, things in piles, walls opened up, flooring down, things getting painted. You can start to identify red flags if you go check out what they got going on, and then just question if they are knowledgeable about the codes, because there are codes that you need to follow, whether you're pulling your permits or just doing cosmetic rehabs. You don't want to spend money to put something together that's not put together correctly. That means don't close up the wall unless it has outlets in the correct spacing over the countertop, when you close your kitchen up, whether or not you're doing it with the city or without.
That's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah. Okay. What do you have going on right now?
Yeah.
Take a look at the current site, organization, processes. Okay.
Yeah.
That leads into the playbook, right? Like, okay, so first off, if people want to find you and follow your content, where would they need to be looking to find you?
So mainly on Facebook. I'm a pen and paper kind of caveman guy. I'm not real technical, but I have been able to launch my Facebook, and I do a lot of live videos and stuff through there. I've got a pretty cool following of people that interact with me, and I've kind of launched the class that I have off of that page on Facebook. It's Nick's All Around Improvements LLC on
Okay,
Facebook. I'm all over there.
cool. So what would somebody expect to see with the playbook that you mentioned, the rehabbers playbook? What are
So
they?
what we do, and it's not a classroom like you're gonna come sit. This is a cool. What I wanted to combine was the walkthroughs that I used to do with my new investors, where I would go over the entire design and what we were going to provide to them, and then the walkthroughs that I do with my guys when we're going to technically go in there and tear it down and start achieving those goals we set forward. I wanted to take those two walkthroughs and I wanted to combine them for 10 investors, individuals, tradesmen, anybody that wants to come hang out. I wanted it to feel, and I think this last one I achieved that goal. I wanted it to feel like we're just hanging out, 10 people with me doing these walkthroughs on this site. So we actually go to two of my sites. It's a Saturday all day thing. We go to one of my sites that's just been demoed. So walls opened up, everything's cleaned out, empty, ready to go. So we got, the full thing open the way I have it. We'll walk the entire site with 10 guys and we explain everything about that site. We explain why we bought the house, the numbers on the house, the strategy that we're going to use to repair the house. We walk the full exterior and go over the design, the cost. We walk the full interior. We go over the design. We go over the technicals. We go over, outlet spacing over countertop, what these bathrooms need to be up to code, what they should be looking for to do a professional repair versus what people try to do, to keep things, janky and simple. Then we break for lunch in the middle. And then we meet back up at a second site, a different one of my projects that's completed on market or just about to be on market, finished, ready to go, cleaned and staged, or just been sold. And we'll walk that full site. In that site, I hang easels of the before pictures. So we blow up the befores of the home and we put them in each section of the room that they were in. And we walk that completed site. We go over the strategy, the numbers, everything about that site while we tour and look at the before pictures of what it used to look like. And we just hang out all day. I answer any question that comes to mind. I tell them, speak up. We're powwowing here, and it went really well. So there was a lot of feedback. People stayed all day. We stayed on time. We went from 9 to right to 5. And the people that were there, they networked. That was one of the things that I noticed that I didn't quite think about that I really liked. That as the class transitioned either into lunch or ending at the end of the day, the people that took the class began to network with each other and go over with each other what they did and why why each one of them was there and what they were looking for. And I really thought that was cool because again, that's what this is all about. I push that so hard, networking, interacting, learning from good people. So when you come take the class, we're just going to hang out. We're going to walk these sites, and I'm going to try to pour anything that I have out into those 10 people. And the cool thing is everyone's different. So everyone's going to be specific to the sites we're at. The questions are going to be specific to the people that are in the class. And it was just a whole lot of fun, really.
How often are you doing those?
So I'm going to start with once a month and see how this works. That's probably about all I can handle at this point. So we've already sold 4 seats for the December class and 2 in the January class. So, and that's not even any of the referrals from the people that took it. Excuse me. So I'm hoping that we fill the class, but you know what? Even if we don't, man, this is my attempt to stay connected into the new investor community because that's who I am. I'm, like I feel like I'm perpetually the new investor, like always learning, always growing. The fact that 10 people even want to listen to what I have to say kind of blows my mind, but we go in there and we hang out and we have a good time. And I just try to pour everything I got into anybody that wants to come in there and see it. This last class, I took a hammer to the wall and I started opening up the wall and showing some things behind the wall, and it was pretty fun.
That's awesome. You know, you mentioned the new age and the new investor, the younger crowd, right? And not to go off on a tangent, but I think it's so important, that whole mindset of the Gen Zs, the younger millennials, and the generations to come, because the gap to get into real estate right now is getting wider and wider with prices going up and rates going up, and doing these things, to be able to generate extra income so you can save money, to have money to be able to invest in something. And then kind of what you're doing with, give, right? Giving the opportunity to be able to show somebody the ropes, that, and then also that it's possible, 10 years into your game, you were able to build the connections to be able to get that funding to make this happen. Just showing that it is possible. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey. It may not happen overnight, but it's possible. You just got to see
Absolutely.
the light at the end of the tunnel, which is easier said than done.
One at a time, man. One foot in front of the other. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And, putting yourself out there with these classes, right? Like, it's a long game, building the network, the networking that happens, and the relationships that you build. And you can't do it all in one night. And you mentioned you're on Facebook, and maybe down the road things open up and you have other stuff that you have going on, but there's only so much time in the day. What's the next goal for the group or the team?
Yeah, I think I'm in it right now, and the goal is to kind of stabilize. So I was just kind of going over that because after the class, I had this big build up to the first class, preparing for all these things. And then after it was over, I was really proud. I was really happy. But then I'm kind of in this weird lull. I was just going over that with my wife. It's like, what's next almost? Because my life is that perpetual what is next. So I've achieved these goals that I put forward. I did that Faster House talk in front of 200 people. I loved that. It was awesome. And I launched this class, and then I executed this class, and that was awesome. This year was for my execution of moving from a construction rehab company for the last 8 years to an investment company with a construction wing. And I've done that. So I'm in this weird place where I'm trying to figure out, like, what is that for me? What is next? What is the next goal? Where is the next step? Right now I'm just going to be still. I'm going to maintain. I'm going to level out the things that I have. I'm going to prove concept with this class, and I'm going to sell it out every month for the next couple of months. I'm going to continue to level out my team and my investment game that I got going on. I guess if I had to throw it out there, getting back into acquisition is now my goal. Getting back into figuring out how I can continue to keep these properties as a rental properties without leaving $20,000 into every deal, or even with leaving $20,000 into the deal at this point, because building my rental portfolio has always been the main pinnacle of all of my goals. I'm not a big cash flow guy. I'm a big equity guy. I love my equity. I never tap back into it. I circle my equity into lines of credit so I can access it, but I never pull it and I never take it. And I'm want to get back into acquiring these rental properties so I can continue to build that rental portfolio and continue to build those assets. And I think stabilizing everything I have going on currently is my step one to transitioning to being able to put more money and time into keeping some more of these projects that I buy instead of flipping them all.
Going back to the class, what are some of the most common or most important questions that people are asking in those Saturday?
So we only had the one, but what came up at the end that majority of people found most helpful was the acknowledging that there was a process to follow. So like helping them outline the process, like when you get one of these houses, you buy it, you get it, now it's your stinking pile of house. Now what? walking them through where you should start, where you should go next, where you should follow after that, and how to go about achieving that rehab process and following that process. That was one of the things I think people mentioned that they found the most helpful, is because the ability to scale takes structure, and if you're going to continue to do these, you have to structure the way that you do them. You can't manage 12 different projects going 12 different ways with 12 different colors and 12 different designs. So you have to figure out a way to structure what you're doing, and just trying to help them bring some structure to the process, I think, was a benefit that they appreciated the most.
Whoa, I had a button. Jesus Christ. In terms of systems or technology or process, what are some of the things that you use to keep things simple and on pace and timing and all that?
Lots of whiteboards. I use lots of whiteboards. I wish I had some better technical answer about processes and systems. Oh, okay. So I'll go over the way I run, 10 different rehabs at a time. Okay. So the way I do it is I have managers, team leaders. I have team leaders in charge of every day. Okay. And then I have general guys that are there to assist those team leaders. At the end of every day, my team leaders have to put in their notes for the day. So we use Evernote, which is like a group note taking system. Everybody can download the app, and we can all share this one main hub, and you can edit and adjust and whatever. So at the end of the day, I've kind of evolved this process over the years where my guys have to do these notes. So the site leader will write down their task completed. So you write down the street name, who was there, and the date. And then you write down in your notebook your task completed for the day, which outlines everything you did. Then you write down the to-dos, which is the next step or the next few days or the next couple steps in the project. And then you write down the materials that you discovered that are not on site that are necessary for the next day. So you write out those three things in your notebook: task completed, to-dos, and materials. You then take pictures of anything in the site that's outside of spec or outside of normal or hasn't been addressed or you don't know or whatever. And at the end of the day, you upload that note into the file for that property. So if we have a street on Aberdeen, you'll do your notes, you'll take your pictures, and at the end of the day, before you leave your site, you upload that all into the Aberdeen note. Then at the end of the day, around 6, 7 o'clock, whether I've been in the field all day or not, I'll come home, I'll pull up the notes, I'll assess what all 5, 6, 7 of my different sites have done for the day. And then I'll say, okay, well, this team made it to here. They're ready for tile. This is my tile guy. So now he goes there the next day. This site, they made it to here. They're ready for electrical. These are my guys that run that. They go here for the day. So then I will take in everything that happened, everything that needs to happen, and the different materials that need to be purchased, and then reset my team into different locations based off of their ability to complete different aspects of the site. And then the ball just keeps bouncing. So it was set up. It's a management strategy that allows me to control a big spectrum of projects, right? But it's also set up because I take what I do very seriously. I got 8, 9 guys that work for me every day. And what if I get hit by a bus? If I'm the only one to do all this, does 10 people now have nothing? Are they out of the job? Do they now not know how? So with this, even if I go out of commission for an extended period of time, they may not understand how to complete an 8-week rehab, but they all are completely trained now how to execute a day, plan the next day, and then show up the next day and execute and plan. So with that strategy, that is my fail safe for even if I'm not able to control personally what I'm doing, it doesn't fall to shit the minute I can't, come to the table.
That's awesome. So, and there's probably a million more things we could dig into on this. And at some point, I'd love to have you back on down the road. But the playbook, right? The class. If somebody wants to learn and get on schedule for one of these coming down the road, what's the best way to reach you?
You can reach out to me on Facebook. My phone number is all over the place. You could put Nick's All Around Improvements on Google, and I'm going to pop up. Call me, text me. Don't just call me and don't leave a message, because I don't know who's real anymore. Between Facebook and the automated messages I get and the bots that reach out to me, if I don't know you, I probably don't answer. But leave me a message, shoot me a text, tell me you're interested, hit me up on Facebook, shoot me a friend request. Everything about it is public and opened. And, I'm just, transparency is a strategy that I've used to navigate business that has worked very well for me. So I just continue to use that. I'm all over the place. If you need me, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help in any way I can.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for making time. Can't wait to see more of your successes online. I mean, I'm seeing you on Facebook. Keep doing it, man. But we'll have you on soon, and take care.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a blessed one. Talk soon.